Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, HR tried to get rid of my dad right before he was able to get his pension. Don't throw off your groove? You got it. Make me stay at work longer? I'm gonna make the best of it. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. HR tried to get rid of my dad right before he was able to get his pension. My father worked for a Forbes 500 company since the 70s. Moved up the ranks as a software engineer and management, has patents for the company that saved it millions of dollars. He's almost to pension age and suddenly HR starts making his life miserable. He noticed this trend was happening to some of his coworkers when they were getting close to age 60 as well. HR lady calls him into the office and says that he was not punching in and out at the correct time. My father, an engineer, is very detail-oriented. He knew that these were false accusations and asked HR to prove it. They came back a week later and couldn't prove it. And he said, "Of course you can't. I have been driving the corporate carpool bus from a major city 40 miles away from the company for the last 15 years. I always have 16 witnesses on my clock in time and I haven't been late in 15 years. HR lady came back a week later and they said that they were going to fire him for letting people into the building without badging. He asked to see when and where he was letting someone into the building without badging. They showed that he held the door for his best friend who had also been working there since the 70s, who had his foot cut off after having type 2 diabetes. He was in a wheelchair. Prior to this, my dad took the chief of security out for lunch and told him about how this company wanted him to leave before he got his pension, so he got some footage of his own. My dad said, "That is very interesting. You are going to fire me for holding the door for my best friend of 35 years after his foot was amputated and he was in a wheelchair? Fine, then I hope you fire the CEO and yourself as well." He then proceeded to show footage of the HR lady holding the door for his friend and the CEO holding the door for his friend. My father ended up staying there until he got his pension. Edit: I don't know his finances and he probably wouldn't have lost the whole pension, but there was a definite financial difference from being fired prior to reaching age 60 and making it to age 60. Edit 2: So this blew up so much that my brother, who didn't know I was on Reddit, texted me and said, "You are Reddit famous." That's a story about Dad. I knew this was you. Also, some of you are wondering why a software engineer would have to clock in and out. Well, he didn't. I meant to use the word badge in and out of the building. They went that far to talk with security to see his badge timestamps. There are more things that led to this getting bad, and I didn't want to write pages and pages, but it definitely escalated to this point. Lastly, for those of you that have been saying that my dad must have worked there as a child, this whole thing happened roughly 9 years ago. My father is 68 right now. If you want to know what company it was, this sentence is the most general hint I can give you, but it may drive people from that company to be mad at me. Final update: Dad quit that job a while ago and made his own company in his retirement. He has used his own money to patent a new invention that desalinates seawater and provides clean solar energy. He has patents for this in America, India, and China, and is looking for some capital to provide clean water and power to third world countries. If interested in helping him build his first power plant, please send me a message. I hope hordes of future employees learned of this, made sure their contracts had incredible immediate returns, and then abandoned the company and explained exactly why. Those who reward loyalty with treachery deserve what they get in return. European-style employment contracts are rare in the US. In most states, employees are employed at the will of the employer, and in others there are only minimal protections. Even giving 2 weeks' notice is usually only a customary courtesy. Not a surprise. My company had done similar things for years. They finally got caught and someone ended up suing for ageism. My company ended up settling, but part of the settlement was the entirety of the upper management of HR all had to be fired because they were the one who instituted that policy. 6 people let go, one of which was less than a year from their retirement and full benefits. The past 15 plus years have been a bit better. A lot of people were being fired at 59 and a half years of age. This is why 401k funds are a great thing in the US. There is no incentive to fire people approaching retirement age. It's starting to be a common tactic. I had an opportunity to work for a Fortune 500 company. They offered lower pay, but they claimed you could get a pension, except they have a reputation for letting people go before they are fully vested. Noped right out of that offer. I work at a Fortune 500 and the pension vests a constant percentage each year. No magical age milestone. Milton Wadhams, talking on the phone, and I said, I don't care if they lay me off either, because I told Bill that if they move my desk one more time, then I'm quitting, I'm going to quit. And I told Don too, because they've moved my desk 4 times already this year, and I used to be over by the window, and I could see the squirrels, and they were merry, but then, they switched from the swingline to the Boston stapler, but I kept my swingline stapler because it didn't bind up as much, and I kept the staples for the swingline stapler, and it's not okay because if they take my stapler then I'll set the building on fire. I always thought he said that the squirrels were married. You need unions to protect you against this shit. Then and now. LOL, yeah. Seeing this thread with the eyes of Scandinavia, I'm flabbergasted. That's weird. Normally, the way pensions work is that you vest after a certain amount of years. You can only lose the pension for really egregious acts like embezzlement and such. But this is yet another example as to why working class people need unions. Yeah, my company has a pension and I'm already vested in it. The percentages go up every year and there's a penalty if I voluntarily leave early, but I'm always entitled to my core pension. And there's no penalty if I'm let go, and it's waived if I leave during a voluntarily early retirement period they do every few years. The amount I get goes up over time as I stay there up to a cap, but there's no a key difference in leaving at 59.5 and 60. It's not an all or nothing. What's senseless corruption? Just how greedy was this company if HR was bullying and falsely accusing employees approaching eligibility for pension? I applaud your father for not letting them get to him and even calling their bluff. Don't throw off your groove? You got it. So roughly a year and change ago, I was brand new at my current job. I'm at a point where I've got a fair grasp of how things work, but still have stuff to learn. I'm just going along doing stuff, then I start doing some things my coworker usually does. I'm not thinking much of it in the moment, but he has an Emperor Cusco-esque meltdown when I come back to grab some more supplies. He's going on about how I'm doing his stuff and throwing off his groove. He actually said his rhythm, but in keeping with the Cusco imagery I had to write groove instead. I'm just thinking, okay, that was dumb, but okay, you got it, and from that point on, unless I'm specifically asked to by the boss, I don't do a single thing I see him regularly doing. Even on the days where he's off, but I still work. It should be noted that the things I'm intentionally skipping are hardly things that would throw off the operation of the store: stocking the deli cooler with Lunchables/sandwiches/ etc., refilling the pastry display, and Windexing the windows and sneeze guards. Last I heard, he's still crying to management about how he's the only one who does these things. I never hear anything from anyone about not doing them. Beware the groove. How dare you be a helpful and considerate colleague? Right? I don't know about you, but if someone's willing to give me extra time to chill at the register and generally not do a lot, I'll let him. Take my upvote for the Emperor's New Groove reference. Love that movie. Respect. I couldn't think of a better analogy for this guy, lol. In fairness, some folks do work best when they're in the zone. Flow states can be amazing for productivity, but can be easily disrupted by distractions. But then there's folks who just want things their way as a pointless bid for control in an uncaring universe. Flow states can be amazing for productivity, but can be easily disrupted by distractions. So if we have an open concept office and cram everyone into the same space, that's bad? How long does it take you to go back and decapitalize every word after your device tries to autocorrect them to capped? Or is autocorrect turned off? I notice brand names and Emperor Cusco are intentionally left capped. I disabled auto-capitalize in device settings. It feels more natural to me given that my PC doesn't do it. If anyone does come to you about not doing those things, you are probably ready to let them know that he demanded that you not do those things. Someone probably heard him tell you to not do them, so admin won't say anything to you. Unfortunately, no, it was just him and I that night. And it wasn't him demanding it so much as it was him throwing a hissy fit that I was doing his stuff. Make me stay at work longer? I'm gonna make the best of it. Something happened today that made me realize I was committing malicious compliance for a long time now without noticing. There is no aftermath for today's case, but I hope it still counts. Anyway, here goes. At my workplace, overtime is not paid out. Instead, it's safe to be used later, meaning if I work 2 hours extra on one day, I can choose to leave 2 hours earlier on another day without any pay cuts or consequences. I could even leave 4 hours early and only make up those 4 hours within 2 or 3 weeks, a little bit every day. It's a good system. Each of us has a little NFC tag they hold over a scanner at the start and the end of our shift, and the system automatically logs the time. Nobody can alter the data. Yesterday, I got messaged by my boss. I did not read the message though, as I was having a massive headache and didn't read it before coming into work today. I actually only read the message after my boss then told me that I will be working the closing shift that day. He told me, after asking via message and not receiving an answer. Thing is, today my shift started from 8 a.m. and went until 5 p.m. So it's a 9-hour shift already. And the closing shift means cleaning out the place after 5 p.m. Cleaning out the place can take from 30 minutes up to 2 hours, depending on a lot of factors. Usually it's a quick 30-minute job, takes me 45 minutes though, as I'm a bit tidy. But considering I was, once again, forced to do closing shift instead of being asked, an issue that I mentioned to my boss and colleagues plenty of times and caused lots of problems in the past, I was kinda pissed, so I thought to myself, make the best out of it. And how? I cleaned the place, yes. It took me almost 2 hours. I was going slow, taking my sweet time, listened to some music over the PA speaker system, and afterwards I took a relaxing, long shower before leaving. Taking a shower in my field of work is my right within work hours, so it's legal. But where is the malicious compliance really? The malicious compliance comes in at some later point, when I will either collect enough overtime to take a few days off, or when I can simply tell my boss, you do closing shift for me now. I got plenty of overtime. Bye. But considering I'm closing shift by schedule again tomorrow, I'll probably be collecting plenty of extra overtime now. Edit, about the fallout of this, it happened in the past and the fallout looked like this. I'd collect about 20 to 40 hours of overtime on my account, so much that HR themselves call my boss because of excessive overtime, and they demand I work them off as soon as possible. Which means a bunch of days off that, planned right, means my boss who didn't want to work then has to cover my shifts. Time off should be accruing at 1.5 rate, 3 hours off for 2 hours OT worked. They are ripping you off, and depending on the state/country, could be illegal. Lucky for me, I have a PhD in taking extended bathroom breaks. That's not really what malicious compliance is. It's not like your boss said something like stay as long as it takes to clean completely or anything of the sort. You chose, without being directed to extend how long it would take to complete your tasks. This isn't malicious compliance, it's regular old-time theft. Something happened today that made me realize I was committing malicious compliance for a long time now without noticing. If you didn't notice, can it really be malicious? Doesn't malice require intent, which kind of requires noticing? Well, I knew the way I did it was with malicious intent. I just never realized it is. Hard to describe what I mean, I knew, but somehow at the same time didn't realize it. This is just unprofitable time theft, and your boss is eventually gonna notice you're purposefully riding the clock. I suppose it is malicious compliance, but it's one where the blowback on you is potentially far greater than the inconvenience you caused. Is it time theft though? I mean, I do my work, and everyone knows I'm extremely tidy about the cleaning, hence why it takes me longer to clean by default than others. It's not exactly like I'm sitting around and waiting for time to pass just so I could clock it. I'm working the entire time, just being very tidy about how I do my work instead of the lazy, fast, and pointless way my colleagues do. And at this point, I don't care for blowback. If they fire me, I'm fine with it as I'm already looking for a different job. They'd be doing me a favor. I ain't scared of HR. Yes, your boss tells you and doesn't ask. You're an employee, you don't get asked if you want to work. You're told what to do and you do it. You sound like you really prioritize punctual trains. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.